Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel today. So it's Monday for me, it's back to work. Son's truck's back in California, so it's time for me to get back on some of my projects. So today I'm working on Project Big Red. If you want to go back a couple videos, I started on that car, I think about a month ago or so. So this car, I've known it since 1993. I met the original owner and I painted it for him in 1996. So it was in dire need of repaint again. So about 5 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe now, I don't know what year it was, but it's been a while. I was on the way to Mustang Week and he called me and asked me if I want to buy a Big Red. So we worked a deal and I've had the car ever since. It's been a kind of a little daily driver car for me. The paint was shot. It was a nice, good running, great, solid Fox body that I could drive around and not worry about. But you know, I decided to put some work in the car, put some fresh paint on it, clean it up, make it look good again. The roof is done. The quarters are done. Again, if you go back and watch my videos, I got all that done already. The driver's door is finished. I'm working on the passenger door now. I stripped that to bare metal just like the rest of the car. Had a lot of paint on it. I used Etch Primer on that after I strip it. Then I use 2K Primer. This door, I didn't have to fix any dents. I think there was, actually I did, there was one very small one in the bottom. The rest of the door is super straight. So after that was done, I Etch Prime it, 2K block sand, and then reprime. That's pretty much it for this door. There is one little small, very small ding I missed where the door molding goes. I'll show you how to identify that. So when I primer one before I block it, I'll use a guide coat just like anybody else. Me, I just use SEM black trim paint, just light guide coat, and then block it. I use 220 on a block stick. Old-fashioned way, I use paint sticks. I know there's a lot of sanding blocks out there you can buy, but I've been using a paint stick forever. I'll show you what I mean by a paint stick when we when we get over there. But first off, thanks for watching the channel, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Let's check out these doors, and you guys can tell me what you think. So on these doors, when you guys are working them, you can see some light spots. This little spot right here is actually the Etch Primer. So the paint on these doors was so bad, it was really hard to identify really any dents or dings, but any big dents and dings you should find when you strip to bare metal, but super small dents, like if you see this little round dot right there, that's a small ding right there. That's why we use guide coat, especially on really bad panels that you can't see when you strip them. Most of the time when I put my Etch Primer on, I'll see a small dent that I've missed with the Etch Primer, and you can go back over and fix that dent and kind of reprime that spot before you get to 2K. But this door is so straight that I didn't see any of that, and I didn't know how I missed that little bitty ding, but I did. So when you block these doors, you'll get up here, you see these edges where you sand through the 2K primer. That's basically just a mold mark right there. Every Fox body has them, every door, every fender where they put them in the stamp. There's really no way to get away from that. Some guys will try to use a little bit of body filler, like if, let me scoot this door back a little bit. It's sitting in the sun. You can see that front a little bit better. Up here in the front, you can see the line right here. This is basically kind of just a high spot, but when you got the panels on the car, it's maybe a hundred thousandths of a hint of being a high spot. When I reprime this door before I paint it, I'll put a couple more coats of primer on it, and when I wet sand it, I'll use a block and I'll wet block it. So any imperfections that I've missed, 99.9% of the time, the wet block will take that out. So I'm gonna walk over to this other door. This door here is done, perfectly straight now. Super nice door off the car. This is the original door off the car. All the body panels on this car are super nice shape. So this is the door I was talking about. Everybody that's got Fox bodies right now is running into rusty doors on the bottom. So this door, as you can see right here, still got the original spot weld where they weld the door skin to the door shell. So it was basically just light surface rust. All the undercoat or all the seam sealer was shot. So I'll normally take a small straight screwdriver. I'll chisel all the old seam sealer out of there. Then I'll take a wire wheel on a drill. I'll wire wheel it all down in nice clean bare metal. Then I'll Etch Prime, 2K, sand it down, make sure it looks really good, make sure I don't miss anything. Then I'll back tape with regular masking tape. I'll put about 6 layers of masking tape just to build up the seam sealer. So once you lay the seam sealer down, let it tack up for about 10 or 15 minutes. So when you touch it, it doesn't leave really a fingerprint, but you can push it down. So it looks like a factory seam seal job. You see here, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Just let it tack up and then just push it down with your finger all the way down the edge, and it'll leave a nice factory appearing seam seal job on the bottom of the door. So those of you that are redoing doors, that's kind of how I do that. A quick walk over here on materials that I'm using. Show you guys real quick. So on my etch primer, I use Finish 1 for etch prime. This right here, if you got any spots of like small surface rust that's in the metal that you can't get out, that most people will take the sandblaster, but if you do that, then you get your metal just gets warped all to pieces. So if you got a little very tiny like pencil head tip of surface rust in a little hole that you can't get out, this primer, basically that etch primer, it'll eat that rust, it kills it. Then once I use the etch primer, I'll let that dry for about an hour or two. I take a burgundy Scotch-Brite, scuff it down, and then I'll 2K prime it. So a door like that, the one that I did over here, this door, I put 3 pretty moderate coats of primer on this door, and then I'll block most of it off. If you see all this sanding dust right here, that's how thick that 2K primer is. So if you've got little small dings, and I mean small, not dense, but little small dings, if you put 2 or 3 moderate to heavy coats on a door like this, it'll fill just about every one of them in. You see these guys on TV taking these doors and just skim coating the whole door with Bondo or, you know, glazing putty. You don't need to do that. 2K primer, it's a fill primer. That's what it's made for. Then once you're done with that, this is what I mean by a paint stick. I'll take 2 perfectly good old or new paint sticks, break them the same length as my sandpaper. I'll fold the sandpaper around the paint sticks, and essentially you just blocking just like this, back and forth. Take your time. Like I said, I put guide coat on there. As you can see, it's all gone. Like I said, except for this one little small ding that I missed right here. I'll put probably 2 moderate little coats over this, and then when I wet sand it with the block, that'll come out. That's very minor. So, like I said, I put 2 or 3 moderate to heavy coats of primer, but I'll sand it all off. You see how thin it is now? You can see the etch primer through it. Some etch primer here, etch primer here. When I primed it, there was a couple really, I think two small dings right here and here, very small, and they're gone. So like I was trying to talk to you guys that are trying to do these cars and fix them up yourself, this is just it. You know, I've got a cheap gun I use for primer. Nothing special, nothing fancy. DA I got from Lowe's. Now my paint gun, it is kind of a bit pricey. That was like a $600 paint gun. And, you know, any auto paint store, DA paper, simple stuff, man. So you guys trying to do this stuff on your own, that's pretty much just about all there is to it. There's not a lot to do in paint and body work. The big thing is the prep work. That's what takes the time. Anybody, you can paint a car, give it a shot. If you get some runs in it, it'll wet sand buff out. Just practice. If you've got a couple panels you want to practice on, do that first. That's what I tell a lot of people that are trying to learn. Get a fender or a door and just practice on that panel till you feel comfortable enough to try it on your own car. So on the intake, excuse all the junk. That's where my Fox Junk channel came from. This right here, that's the flat intake. The 2 next to it, you see the ridge? That's a ridged intake on a 93 Cobra. Yeah, I have a bunch of 93 Cobra intakes. I think I got 7 or 8. So, but this is an early intake, flat side, late intake, ridge side. So we're gonna walk outside real quick. I'll show you guys a 93 Cobra wheel. Everybody wants to know about my covered up cars. These are my parts cars, for anybody that's wondering. You can't buy everything. Yeah, everybody talks some hate. Yep, I need to cut my grass. It snowed last week and I'm gonna cut it tomorrow. So right here, this is a 93 Cobra Oem wheel. I don't know if you can see it. It's got an F3ZZ 1007 BA for the driver's side. And we'll walk over to the passenger side because yes, they are different. There's a left and a right. And on the passenger side, it's a F3ZZ 1007 AA. So that's 93 Cobra wheels. Again, guys, for those of you who took the time to watch this little video, I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. You guys have a good day, and I'm going to get back to work on these doors.